for you wanna love these niggas hate you. Tryna fuck your old hoe, but they can't because they hate you. Gotta love my ops, so I don't hate him, bitch, I'm thankful. Used to run up in your crib and now I'm running to the bank too. Guap is what I get, I can't be mad about what you say, boo. Chopping set time on my shoulder, shit A2. 50 rounds in it, bloodthirsty in it A2. Spot to the nigga block, all many rock. 45, that's a semi chop, let this Remy pop. In the spot with some hitty shots, and too many thoughts. Fucking thought, I just wasn't top, I don't wanna talk. Don't fuck, let shit get guap, bitch, really plot. And my ops always on the watch, telling me to cock. Got a Glock, then a blue dot, you know how I rock. Ain't big, but they give him 2 shots, then they drop. Ooh, 1, chop for the pop. 2 times scope on the wop. 3, 45 on the dot. At least 60 yo niggas is bound to get dropped. Flexing for hoes is gon' leave you for ops with more guap than you got. So little nigga just stop claiming you hot. Let me show you not. I'ma show you what's hot when I bust your top. Like box, bust like box. Don't give a fuck, no I'm busting the box. Fuck on that nigga, bitch got him like wow. Got a bitch coming, she looking like how. Damn my little shawty, I can't do no bounce. I love saying Bob and she love the one on me. She swallow me, then she don't press to say chow. She's what I got, she got me figured out.
I just came up brand new lit. I just came up brand new lit. Brand new kicks, peep the fit. I ain't rockin' no counterfeit. Nigga so fool, I'ma cut that shit. Shorty ass fat, I'ma fuck that bitch. I just came up brand new lit. I just came up brand new lit.
I just came up on a bitch. I just came down on a bitch. I just picked a little bitch up. I just scooped her in the whip. That little bitch won't suck the dick. That little bitch won't let the tip. I just pass it to the cook. So we want my gang and shit. I don't give a fuck about a hoe. That bitch can't lick the game. I just get my fucking chain. I don't give a fuck, little man. I don't got my fucking chain. I'ma snatch your fucking chain.
I just came up brand new lit. I just came up brand new lit.
Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Why you such an asshole? Girl, you only want me for my cash flow. Whoa, what the fuck was you sippin'? It done had you trippin'. I'ma need an intermission. No, we need some distance. Did me dirty, she done did me dirty. Yeah, she hurt me, listen how she hurt me. Did me dirty, she done did me dirty. Yeah, she hurt me, listen how she hurt me. Listen how she hurt me. Love that bitch and then she waiting up and desert me. Now I see girls and I'm like, oh, you can't hurt me. They want hustle on my time, but they are not worth me. They wanna wear my jersey, cause I be ballin' like big leagues. I met her once, she said she missed me. She got sad when I said she can't kiss me, so she tried to finesse when I'm tipsy. She wanna come and smoke dick like a hippie. She told me put my hands where her hip be. She said trust me, that little goopy your cup. I said go ask A5 when I'm sick. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Love smoke, did me dirty. She done did me dirty. Why you such an asshole? Girl, you only want me for my cash flow. Whoa, what the fuck was you sippin'? It done had you trippin'. I'ma need an intermission. No, we need some distance. Did me dirty, she done did me dirty. Yeah, she hurt me, listen how she hurt me. Did me dirty, she done did me dirty. Yeah, she hurt me, listen how she hurt me.
Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams, yeah. Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, yeah. Serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams.
Whoa, from where I'm standing, see the future like I'm Carnac. I'm just soaring and I'm landing like a tarmac. Get in the door, then I handle like a carjack. This that new shit, mixed with that old batch. Throwing bombs, Mario Kart, it's far-fetched. Secretary dress, I check in her front desk. Once she hear it, she gon' love it. I sip the spirit, stab the stomach. She say, why don't you write more shit about me? I say, don't get that pussy wet without me. Don't leave the house without my house key. Don't leave the house without my house key.
Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams, yeah. Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, yeah. Serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams. Been the man, but y'all niggas be telling shit. Something heavy in the trunk like an elephant. My pride would keep me going when a nigga wasn't having shit. Money change situations, bitch, and I'm evident. Foot on a nigga, but I bid it. Now a nigga keep a knot. Shit, my check, I can clear it. With these pennies, I make magic. These extensions, I'ma grab. If a nigga wanna snatch, catch his body, let him go. He ain't never coming back. Got no mask, man, your ass gone, nigga. Half niggas join with you when you pass on, nigga. I be geeking, getting chicken while I break down, nigga. Got G's from the shake off a couple pounds, nigga. Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams, yeah. Slam, ooh, on the scale, big bells, serving straight grams. I got big bells rolling and I'm serving straight grams, ayy. Serving straight grams.
I play with that money. I play with that money. I play with that money. They know. Play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. I play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. Ain't nothing funny. Something about it. So you gonna. I play with that money. I play with that money. I play with that money. See that ass. Change them all up. Stand them up on it. I play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. I play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. I play with that money. Play with that money. Play with that money. Money. No cars in the jungle, no feelings alive when we kick it like Charlie. I roll when she want me. I don't do drugs, you're late. I don't do free, you dig. No, I can't fake, relate. Lay rising like it's red every day. Bitch, I believe that I'm going down. Stay in that pussy like holy cow. When I nut in your face, let me see you smile. You ain't catch me around, it's gonna be a while. I got tired of these bitches, they tore up my wallet. I turned all the money instead. Yeah, that's why I kept up no pictures, baby. No lately, not even my fam. We ain't hanging at a party, don't share nothing common. So how the fuck you think we friends? Keep talking that shit, don't pretend. Keep the same energy when I'm there. I play with that money, play with that money, play with that money. It ain't all funny, something about it, so you gonna. I play with that money, I play with that money, I play with that money. See that ass, change them all up, stand them up on that money. I play with that money, play with that money, I play with that money, play with that money, play with that money, play with that money, play with that money. I play with that money, 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 play with that money. I play with that money, don't play her emotions. I play with that pussy, she wet as
is an ocean. She gave me good head, calling her ibuprofen. I don't really love her, I take her in doses. I'm so sick of niggas that act like they know shit. Think they better than Trisman, these niggas be capping. They think they better than bro chick, then they acting. They dropping mad music but get no reaction. I play with that money, oh whoa. I play with that money, oh whoa. I'm spending my money on clothes. I'm losing my money to hoes. I play with that money, I play with that money.
I play with that money, play with that money, play with that money. It ain't all funny, something up funny, so you gon' know. I play with that money, I play with that money, I play with that money. Stay no mother, stay in my money. I play with that money, play with that money, I play with that money, play with that money, play with that money, play with that money, play with that money. Play with that money, play with that money, play with that money.
Sipping up perk, riding it, wow. Wow. Sipping up perk, riding it. Wow. Sipping up perk, riding it.
They call it dog food. I'm tryna eat, I want all food. I got the catered pyramid. Bitch better have my money like I got that boy. They call it dog food. I'm tryna eat, I want all food. I got the catered pyramid. Bitch better have my money like I got the green. I got Molly said, got bricks on my the 2 for that 36. Cause the 2 for my runners. Lindsay, cause I don't know. No mansion for mama. Ain't got shit for a bitch. Shit for a bitch. Only saving the money. They call it dog food. I'm tryna eat, I want all food. I got the catered pyramid. Bitch better have my money like I got that boy. They call it dog food. I'm tryna eat, I want all food. I got the catered pyramid. Bitch better have my money like Rihanna.
What? In a battle lair. As I, in a battle whip. Smash you to the lair. In a battle whip. Smash you to the lair. In a battle whip. Smash you to the lair. In a battle whip. Smash you to the lair. In a battle whip.
Welcome to ThugCrowd Radio. Please listen to this important disclaimer in its entirety. All participants of this ThugCrowd Radio episode are characters. None of the stories told during these episodes are based on facts, truth, or reality. All works of fiction displayed during this episode that resemble real-life situations are coincidental and are not meant to serve as guides or tutorials to commit any crimes in any country. Please consult an attorney for local laws and regulations. And as always, trust your inner criminal.
Good old music. Man, I'm gonna update this profile photo. Fixing that.
Matthew Grove.
It's gonna be better this time.
We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ThugCrowd.
Hey there.
Can y'all hear me? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
You guys are good? Awesome. Well, everybody, hello. Welcome to another exciting edition of your favorite podcast, ThugCrowd. It's been quite a week, quite a weekend. How you guys doing? How's everyone doing here?
Just great.
So-
Yeah, I'm still catching up on some of this news, like things I needed to follow. Took other things out of the way.
Yeah, it was
So
quite a
many
week.
things.
Quite a week for projects and quite a week for a lot of different things. And yeah, it's exciting that we have a cool month ahead and some plans for the beginning of the year. But yeah, everything seems to be going pretty wavy gravy.
I like
But anyone do anything cool this weekend? Any cool projects or anything?
Yeah, hacked my Switch to play Smash Ultimate 2 weeks early. And uploaded a bunch of dumb shit to Tumblr to see what Tumblr thinks is a titty.
Yeah, you got to. Everyone has to check that out. It's the lol column of our show notes, the very bottom there. That was good. I like that. Just testing it because it gets ridiculous after a while. You realize what.
Do we get any hints? What
of what?
We get any hints at some of the immediate data you have gathered? Oh yeah, I'll drop it here in Voiceless Voice. I'll drop the link to the little Twitter thread.
Yeah, that was that was really good. I just think it's funny that there's like the way that you can tell the way that like they're parsing it is like a little too strict. Where I saw the one where there was like sand, like pictures of a desert were being flagged as nudes, which is awesome.
Wait, they actually have boob detectors? What the hell?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more. We have that in our story, but in our show notes, but definitely a good time. Yeah. Yeah, if not anything else, we can get into the news real quick because we got quite a bit. So there's been 4 major breaches this week that have been reported. It's just like it reminds me of that Smash Mouth like meme video where it's like and they don't stop coming because it's just literally like every single day that I like go on Twitter there's just something new and then more people ask me about it and they say like people that aren't like in computer, they're like, what do I do about the flowers.com or 100 flowers or Marriott? Like, I'm just like, I feel like we need to have like a guide or something to write to just be like, here's what you can do and here's what you can't do, and that's pretty much it. Because it's but I guess we should start with the first one, which is the 500 million Marriott records were stolen in the Starwood data breach. Now, do we know what the vulnerability was leveraged to do this, or
probably guest Wi-Fi?
Yeah. There's so much. Like, there's one dude from Marriott on Twitter, and all he does is respond to people's like things. He's just on their IR team. And so, like, if you go through and look at his Twitter feed, it's literally just like him responding to people on Twitter anytime they're like, "Hey, Marriott's breached."
Oh, was that the guy? Yeah, okay, I saw him.
Yeah, they should learn about this thing called Markov chains.
I don't want to name him, but he's probably still on Twitter, huh? He didn't.
And so it's like there's like just up to like 4 years ago, and it's like someone posted a screenshot of them inside like Marriott's IR emails. They're like, "Hey, so maybe you should fix this." So they're saying like a lot of stuff could be up to like 4 years old. Like no one really knows. Just living off the land for 4 years.
Google Darking it had like just ridiculous stuff too. So it's just Equifax all over again.
Oh yeah, for
Pretty
sure.
They had RDP open to the internet. They have passport numbers in those dumps with date of birth and full name. That's pretty valuable for identity theft.
Yeah.
What was that thing you found, Dan?
It was like an Oracle backend and stuff. Like they just like I just did site : Starwood Hotels, I think. And like and then I think I typed administrator and tons of stuff came
I think that like when if you've ever used like guest Wi-Fi and it's like, what is the surname of the person sitting in the like whose the room is booked under, and also what room are they in? Like you don't need to know much, but obviously that data is shared somewhere amongst like some pretty seedy systems that are like even like pre-walled garden.
Yeah. So someone is echoing. Let's see what it is.
It's echoing badly. I muted him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Atmos, just tell us when you're back. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things. 4 years of people being able to access this records. It's just, I don't know. Like, what do you do at this point? Actually, hold on. I do have a link to. They had gotten sued, or somebody has started suing them immediately. Let me share that real quick. I found that recently. A couple hours after the information.
With this type of thing as well, though, like remembering the chains that you know, the people that run the chain are not always the people who run the hotels as well. So there's a bit of disconnect in like data handling. So if you book directly with a hotel, and then they're just using some booking system, you might have stayed at one of these hotels that's put you in this database and not 100% be aware of it.
Hotels are
probably still
massive bug. I think from Intel point of view, for intelligence agencies like major hotel chains and rewards programs and all that sort of stuff, a huge target.
Is there a competition?
Sorry?
I was going to ask if there's a competition to break into hotel rooms. Like we do a black bag at RexCon. I'm sure other cons do similar, where you have to break into a hotel room, and the scenario is like get in without triggering the alarm, and like don't set off a pressure mat. And
well, after the Las Vegas incident, I don't think that'd be a good idea to be running those.
Well, I mean, like it's all sanctioned. The hotel knows it's happening, and that it's the hotel that it's a tell that. But I just mean like that scenario wasn't made up out of thin air. Like getting into as an intel exercise, breaking into a hotel room is obviously a real
that's
thing
pretty
that
standard.
people do.
Well,
Yeah,
I
like,
was watching a training video from the 1950s, a CIA training video from the 1950s. One of the first things they said is, "Don't stay at major chain hotels." That's a huge intel fuck up, because everyone that works there is compromised or owned in some way.
pay cash at like a small
yeah,
pay cash at a small motel.
exactly. That's exactly what the video said. It said motels, pay cash at motels.
So now everybody
Don't say
knows
that.
where to look for fucking spies at the little motels. You just
Cheapest
I don't know
motel
about
all the
on the
spies you
outskirts.
I
want.
don't go looking for spies. Like I'm, you know, I don't know who goes looking for spies, but
Me, I do.
well,
Spies everywhere.
So yeah, speaking of breaches, another one was Quora, which Quora is one of those sites that I always feel like I don't know who actually is a user of the site. I don't know what their target person is, because it's the same thing to me as Yahoo Answers, which I know some of you might have actually used it, but for me it just seems like a place where there's for some reason just always a question and always a bunch of answers that are just bizarre. So yeah, Quora, I don't know. But with this though, there was 100 million users' accounts data were stolen, which is a username, email address, encrypted password, probably MD5.
I thought.
And
So Quora is not a Google property. Is this before they?
No, it's
No.
their. They went through Ycom. I don't think they got bought out by anyone.
Well,
Yeah.
Google integrates pretty closely to encourage you to log in from your Gmail account to Quora. So I assume that a lot of those credentials are going to be Gmail credentials.
I mean, Quora is one of those things though. Like someone I know who frequents Quora is not there for information, but just for the trolls. Like to read just to read the retarded trolls and make sure that the wrong answers are upvoted. Like, or the or should I say the best answers? The best answers are upvoted. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's just another classic breach. I don't know, but I don't know if anybody actually or who actually uses it to be affected. But 100 million users is quite a lot. Now this next one
Including
here,
private messages.
a bunch of different information about that. Like
It still can be some good data that people use over other website.
Oh man, yeah, you can import contacts and stuff onto Quora as well from other social networks. So
Nice.
that's in the database too.
That's
All your
hilarious.
Facebook contacts.
So sort of reminds
Maybe
me of
maybe we're gonna see some phishing attacks after that.
Who has the database? Come on, give it up.
Does Troy have it?
Give it up.
Of course, Troy has it. He ethically paid money for it.
No log, no crime.
Yeah, this is one of the things too. Is like when you like make your users sign up in order to even like view the site.
Yeah,
right?
they're pretty
There's a lot of people
aggressive.
who didn't even like ever answer or ask a question, who are now like their emails are now leaked just because they want to see content on the site.
Now you mention that, I'm pretty sure I've done that as well with maybe a throwaway account. But yeah,
That's why you use random information every time you register.
So like that's
no
one
matter
of
the
like
web.
not something that like I'm sure they considered, but it's like boy.
I was trying to deal with. We have more people in the chat today than we have in a while. We're overflowing off the sidebar, which is good. Welcome everybody who's here. Hanging out. The next story that we have here is interesting as well. This is a credit card stealing malware that had been on 1-800-Flowers for 4 years, and people were just stealing credit cards of them for 4 years. Yeah, I don't know. There's not really much more information about it. I don't see anything, just a TechCrunch article, but that's a long time to have credit card stealing malware. And somehow, like, I mean, I'm sure, don't you have to pass PCI compliance? Is there anything like how did this happen? You know?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what happened to PCI?
Sorry, go ahead, Blackwater.
I was just saying, like, what happened to being PCI compliant?
Yeah, right. Like how, like if you have an audit
Yeah.
and they ask you anything about it, there would be like, all the standardized
really-
questions that eventually lead you to look
We
at
need to get
something.
we need to get the journalists to start asking that question immediately whenever credit card data is compromised in a breach at all. That should be one of the first questions that the journalist asks of the spokesperson.
But if you have
or
a
whatever.
breach for 4 years, you're just gonna like grab and log the number in in clear text. Like, plus anyway, like if you look at PCI, you have to remember as well that the things that are stored, like the way that it's stored, like you must show the last 4 digits to the customer. You need the first 6 digits, which are the IIN, and like then you've only got this space of 6 digits. 6 4, yeah, so 16. You only have a space in the middle that must adhere to LUN. So even if you're masking it, the same as PCI tells you to, all the data's there. Put it back together. It's not that big a deal.
So here's the
But
question.
I don't think this is just like a big breach where they've gone like, oh, clear text credit card numbers. I think it's more like if they've had access for 4 years, they've been siphoning that bitch off in clear text.
I'm more interested in who provided like their security consulting assurance, whatever you want to call it, name and chain, because somebody's not doing a good enough job. Clearly, either Flowers didn't do anything, or they've been paying some clown who hasn't been doing a very good job.
It could be the case
And
of
sometimes
100 Flowers
they forgot
up,
to
right?
remove some credential of an old employee. I see that often in in database that I work.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of silly though. Like 4 years, boy oh boy.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get fired. I've got to put my not Dan hat on and find someone to fire in this scenario.
I mean, that's bad
At
management.
least one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I wonder if it's IVR related though. That's the only thing that comes to mind with 1-800-Flowers, right? Like that would be an easy way to take credit cards and also be PCI compliant.
Right. Yeah.
Well, finally, the last breach of the week that we found here is the Dell security breach. Or Dell had announced some form of security breach. They didn't really give too much about it. They're just talking about, or they said that there was hash passwords, customer names, and emails. But the article specifically says the company didn't go into details about the complexity of the password hashing algorithm, but some of these, such as MD5, can be broken. And I wasn't sure if that was like a dig for something they weren't supposed to say, or if that's just them saying MD5. Either way, I hope to God that Dell does not use MD5. They have quite the technology to not use it.
Yeah, I think this is like a lot of this stuff just came out because like, well, if you have a data breach, like now's the time to like publish it because nothing's gonna beat fucking 500 million. Like
exactly,
record.
You can fly under the radar. It's like putting news out on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
just so that nobody notices it.
Because I literally didn't hear about this Dell breach until right now.
No. And just reading through it, it sounds like like Dell support forums or driver site or something like that. And it could no PCI information or even PII information, but it could be substantial if that was the only news story in security this week. Is Dell exposes 100 million emails. That'd be headline news, but there's bigger headlines this week. So sneak it in.
Small countries leaking out of hotel chains.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening has got like a breach under 100 million, now's the time to come clean. No one will even notice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, if you're using MD5 this year,
it's unfortunate
the
there's not more
administrator, the
information
DevOps
about this one,
did something wrong. Who the fuck are them? What the fuck? I mean, did you read something on the internet like in the all years?
What else we got in the pipe?
Copy paste.
Stack Overflow, please. Copy pasta.
So move on to the next story here, because we could talk about breaches forever and just shit on them, but there's a lot more people living to shit on. So Tumblr will ban adult content on November 17th. So this has been quite a thing. Shell, as you were talking about earlier, testing out what they are banning. But specifically, they had mentioned that they don't want any adult content. and the now famous phrase "female presenting nipples." So they're basically trying to do this really stringent policy now to combat child pornography, which we talked about last week when they were removed from the iOS store because they don't want to have an app that has any child porn on it. And so while that is an argument, we were debating on what this would mean for Tumblr, and it seems that this is actually what their move is going to be, which is try to do as quickly as possible some sort of damage control to be able to get back in the App Store, because that is a significant amount of the mobile market that won't be able to download their app. And so,
without the edginess of Tumblr, I mean, what's their audience if there's no?
I think they're making a big mistake. I think they're fucking up big time. Like they really took a wrong move because they're killing their user base in order to save the.
There might be some stuff behind the scenes we don't know about. They might be seriously implicated in some ongoing investigation or something.
Yeah, I don't.
And this is the only way they can survive is to.
Wait, and is it all nipples, or is it just female nipples?
It's
still nudity.
It's just
everything.
The sand thing, right? So, Shell, did the sand thing get blocked?
I uploaded a whole bunch of pictures of deserts, and I was like, because I saw it and I couldn't get it to trigger. I tried. Someone else talked about like Garfield's eyes. I saw someone do that, and I uploaded a bunch of those, and it didn't work. But I uploaded 150 different images, which is their like daily post cap, and I got like 15 to trigger. So including a skinned Tickle Me Elmo doll, 3 images of praying mantis eyes, someone who just posted pictures of their knees.
Yo, can we put that on this stream?
What?
Yeah, can you post those in the chat or something? I want to see them.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like knees and elbows are always good to
whole thread. A pumpkin, potatoes, soap bubbles, freshly baked buns, a melon, cow udders, Michelangelo statue of David.
It'd be funny if someone posted like, I don't know, Mike Pence or something, and he got flagged. Offensive.
So it's definitely one of those things that like it's what happens when you have a knee-jerk reaction to something, and you implement policy very poorly, really poorly thought out.
Can you imagine 4chan doing this at some point in the past, saying that's it, no more?
That's going to be a downfall.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people though on Tumblr uploading photos of there's a lot of artsy type people, I guess, uploading, and a lot of these algorithms are looking for, which is why I asked about the sand thing, is like curves, skin colors, all shades, and so I guess that's the certain things that would meet the criteria. The fact that they're specifically looking for the shape of boobs though, or nipples, that's the eyes set off. That's kind of weird, because I mean, I'm not sure that's in the hot dog, not hot dog government algorithms. You know what I mean? I think it's
Yeah, I mean, there's no replacement for just good old community moderation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you have that amount of content, though.
Yeah, they don't have the staff to police it.
Oh man, it's
Facebook has some algorithmic stuff going on. If you upload some photos, they kind of get flagged. But I still think that gets forwarded. Eyeball it first. There's some stuff that's automatically banned because they've already got a hash for that image or whatever. But there are some images that I've uploaded, completely innocent images that I've uploaded to Facebook that have been flagged, and then the flag went away, and I thought, what was that all about? So maybe I think that somebody manually ticked it and said, this is not adult content.
Is the whole story about Tumblr yet? Is the whole story about why they got booted and how they're related to CP? How is all that mixed together? I don't get it.
They got banned from the iOS store. Child pornography.
Well, yeah, but why? Like that. Obviously, there's always going to be a small amount on any file sharing service.
I think it's like DT was saying. There's a lot of teens on there that post like erotic stuff of themselves, even like.
Yeah.
Think about
I think that's the thing is,
rotten.com.
right? Their user base is like a lot of younger users, and a lot of those users post photos of themselves.
It's all quite silly. Like most of the kids
Yeah,
these
but
days use, like,
that's
real-time
always
chat.
been the argument.
But like, so what about there was that episode of Silicon Valley where they underestimated their user base, and it was like 99% little kids and like 1% old dudes.
Yeah.
That sounds
Like,
like
I think,
Tumblr.
yeah, like,
yeah,
it's kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy, even if it's innocent. Even if the guy's on there because he curates a Animu waifu pillow Tumblr account, it's still kind of creepy.
I was about to say that it's kind of silly because Tumblr's got its old user base that have been there for years, but younger kids these days are more likely to use instant, real-time, peer-to-peer kind of transferring services.
Dude,
You can't be policed on a website.
Think about the amount of TP that's going across Snapchat and Instagram. Like, it's fucking it doesn't add up. There's something that doesn't add up here.
Well, yeah, it's just because that's not public facing. Like,
that's right. Tumblr gets archived. So
you know what is weird though? I will say this. I was thinking about for stuff like Snapchat or Instagram stories, things like that, where people can send very quick disappearing in quotes messages. I took a picture one time of a movie premiere of like the screen of a movie, and Snapchat wouldn't let me post it. This is a couple of years ago, but I kept trying to do it over and over again. It did not work. So I don't know if there's any sort of filtering in place for that, but I mean, definitely, I feel like more places are going to try to include filtering of some sort, whether or not they're transparent about it. But I would keep an eye out for that. Everybody who uses these services, because it
was Facebook, right, who implemented if you upload the meme images, they would not they would get flagged regardless of whatever they were. And then people started making like the single frame videos, and then they started doing the like triangles over the video, like transparent triangles moving over the video to like see the meme. So I wonder if those techniques will start getting just applied to Tumblr.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Just say algorithm war.
Oh, it's like
they
it's
got the people of the
fighting
model.
against the algorithm.
I feel like
And
we're
it's
going
like
to
the
see a
same thing
rise
people
of
did.
people using clever editing techniques to just continue to fight these automatic filtering systems.
I mean, yeah,
That's
you see it
like
for a long
everything.
time. You used to see it on like YouTube where people upload songs, right? And it'd be like, oh, how much percentage do I have to pitch bend this in order for to not hit the algorithm?
I watched a video today that had text overlaid on the on the Disney movie that it was taking clips from, color filtered, color grading, and different clippings of the screen. It was just like 5 layers.
Yeah.
I once heard a story from a
watching
fan.
Hamtaro like that. It's really depressing, actually.
I was just gonna say it's really bleak and depressing.
This is how I have to watch. I have to watch a deep fried TV show every time. Like, but yeah. But before we go too far into this, we should keep going because we have a lot more news. So the next one here is something that people have been talking about a lot. The most interesting aspect of this is the selling aspect. So somebody is claiming to sell a mass printer hacking service or hijacking service. And so there's been a bunch of talk about this. Somebody who shall not be named used a very, very wide or well-known public tool to send a message about PewDiePie to a printer that was available to them on Shodan. And in that same time, in the span of time, like a couple of days since that became public, somebody had set up a service to do printer advertising for, quote, guerrilla marketing. And so this is like probably one of the most. Or I'm gonna have to mute you for a second. Sorry. I feel like this is probably one of the bleakest things I've seen of just strictly monetizing printers. It's super invasive. It's probably one of the most invasive things you can do. And it's super annoying. And the fact that nobody has done anything to stop having printers just be open by default on the internet with a
Think
public
about
IP.
fax machine. Think about fax machines.
Yeah.
They're open by default on the PSTN. And
That's true.
at some point in the 80s, people were fax bombing and selling advertising over fax, just like this.
Yeah.
We made a decision at some point, like, if you want to receive faxes, you just have to live with the fact that 3 out of 4 of them are going to be garbage.
That is true.
The thing is, it was never
and more
legal
secure
before.
environments would like whitelist people they're expecting to receive faxes from, or do something more secure than that.
Thing is, it
So,
was illegal.
no matter what we do, there'll be people that leave printers open because, for whatever reason, libraries and stuff, they'll just leave.
Yeah.
I think Google Cloud though as well, like Cloud Print. I know that I'm way too lazy to like configure a printer, so I just turn my printer on, and Google does some shit, and then I print, and then I turn the fucking thing off because I don't trust it.
Yeah. What are you saying, Dan?
Most of these public facing printers are because it's universities and other very large networks that have been assigned like a class A, and they effectively have so many freaking IP addresses. Literally every device they own gets a public IP address. That's just how they run their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting that there's immediately after this was done, because this isn't a new thing at all. This has been done multiple times. Over the
Well,
years.
I think the selling of the service is part of the troll. Whether there's actually anyone behind it that's trying to make money out of it, I don't know. But sounds like something we'd come up with, late at night while chatting as a joke,
just to make a point.
So here's the other thing, though, is that one of the things that was pretty annoying was that I saw that I was talking to Load this morning, and somebody had put out a fake ad claiming to be from printeradvertising.com for Load's radio show. And saying that like he was responsible for it, and it was brought to them by Printer Advertising, and it was just a full-on just ad that was just spamming printers. And so we'll go because Load's a good dude. We didn't want to say that. We wanted to make the record clear that he didn't do that, and there's people that might also do that for other creators, because this was sparked initially, or this wave of mass printing was sparked by YouTube drama, basically. And so it's one of those things to look out for if you're seeing stuff like this. I guess question who might have sent it and why. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Yikes.
I hope PewDiePie comes out and says something against it. Lately, he's been getting a bit. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with that guy lately. Actually, he's a bit salty.
I don't think you could say it.
with that guy in general.
Yeah, but I mean, I looked at a search today. They're on port 9100. There's over 500,000 results on Shodan. So
Once one starts getting involved, that's when it starts like getting prosecuted. So we'll actually see it turn into a crime now. Like it hasn't been prosecuted all these years.
Once it has to cause or demonstrate financial damage in some way or another. So one of these big universities might say, "What the hell? We've had 500 printers get attacked. That's costing us tens of thousands."
I
maybe.
like
It's been for
this
many years.
paragraph. At the bottom of the page, the website also links to the Instagram of Simon Smith, an Australian cybersecurity investigator.
Oh my god!
10 out of 10.
Oof.
That is, this is if that's not troll enough, that just adds. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, someone just brought this up too in the chat. The data program. I forgot about this. The printers update their firmware via print jobs, which includes things like DNS settings and other things. So yeah, I feel like printers would just be remotely owned en masse. And I feel like the fact that more people are looking at it and trying to monetize it as they do, because it's fucking 2018, doing it for the views and the fucking bitcoins. Yeah.
Well, Now that I see that Simon Smith thing in the bottom of the article, it was just pointed out. I'm pretty sure I know who's responsible for this. Okay,
Yeah,
now.
I have an idea too, but it's fucking
Same.
Why isn't ThugCrowd being sued by him yet?
So with,
Because we don't make money.
I think that with the printer thing, like with printers in general, like being able to push like those settings, like, is that over like PostScripts? Like, is it just the same shit?
I forget. That's a DEF CON talk. It's the What the Facts talk, I think. They discuss it, but I forget which one. But yeah, it was just
like,
described the way
that
that you update firmware.
If you could do that, then like there's no reason that you can't make a basically an amplification attack out of printers.
Oh, absolutely.
Like since these are all open on the internet, like it's been known for a long time that when you're on an engagement with like network segmentation, like just bounce packets off the printer. Hey, I'm the printer guy.
Yeah, as soon as kid gonna come around.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fucked up. Like if they can imagine an amplification attack or a botnet from it, that's gonna be easy. When they think just another meta, there's a lot of device or other thing that they could do the same as IoT.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean they're running a pretty basic operating system that is pretty well known now from researchers. So arbitrarily putting anything on them wouldn't be something that some random kid could do, but it would definitely be something that somebody who knows better would definitely be able to do.
They often contain domain credentials, SNMP, community strings.
Yeah, they have auth. They have auth stuff. They do any sort of like authentication to the domain. Because a lot of printers are doing that. They have like Kerberos and other things where people actually have to auth to it to print. So yeah, that's definitely a pivot.
Like VoIP services, they have VoIP credentials and stuff, so you can send faxes across the internet, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So yeah, they're definitely an attack vector that's really interesting. But for now, I feel like they'll just be memed into oblivion. So check your toner. But yeah, the next thing that we have here, actually, Ian Coldwater, I'm glad you're here, because the next article in our news was about the first major, or is it the first major security hole discovered in Kubernetes? I didn't close. I thought that was pretty misleading, but I'm like, okay.
It's like it's quite possible that it was the first that author had heard of, but no. Even if you're counting CE numbers and any number of things, yeah, the first a pretty major security hole in Kubernetes got discovered this week. The vulnerability is kind of bananas. It allows people, both authenticated and unauthenticated users, backdoor administrative access to Kubernetes clusters. And it can't be detected very easily in logs. There's been some confusion about whether or not it's a local privilege escalation or a remote code execution, and the answer is that it's both, because of the way that Kubernetes works, and because this one is both, you can do it with RCE if you can access the cluster externally, and you can do it as a local privilege escalation if you can access a cluster internally that isn't exposed.
Okay. Now, do you know, I guess, what sort of, how is this actually leveraged? Is there a specific service that people might have? Is this like, I guess, a general thing, or is this something that's application specific based on your use case?
I was mid thought there. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so it depends on using aggregated API servers, which is more common in older versions, but tends to be the older versions that can be found in the wild. Everything under 1.10 is unpatchable for it. Patches 1.13 just came out like yesterday. Patches are now out for 1.10, 1.11, 1.12. So if you're not using an aggregated API server, your clusters won't be affected. Also, if you are only using the admin account and no user accounts, role-based access control, or anything else, then you can't use it as an LPE because you cannot privilege escalate if everybody is admin.
Very true.
So with this, a little bit like from what I could glean, it was there's required a HTTP request or a WebSocket request through the kube proxy. So as an attacker on the outside of the cluster, you would need an SSRF internally in a application that's running within the cluster in order to leverage it, right?
So I think an important thing to note is how Kubernetes works, especially historically, which is that all of it is API based. Like that is how the networking communication historically gets done. And so it's not that you need like to hijack API access. It's that if your Kubernetes cluster is running such that communication is happening via this system of APIs, which, as I said, historically is actually just how it works, then if you have access to those APIs, whether it's because they're externally exposed and you're looking at them as an attacker, or because you're already in the cluster for some other reason, as for example, a lower privileged user, then it will just that's how the communication happens. You don't have to hijack it.
So
is it like parameter smuggling along like an existing WebSocket from client to server, or is it like a new line injection or something? I can't really get the details from it.
I thought it was like a HTTP pipelining like injection, like where you have multiple requests.
Yeah. Somehow keeping alive that connection and crafting up another API request.
So if you're...
But it only authenticates on like establishing the connection to the API, or
I'm
trying to understand like why is there no token with each API call, some kind of authentication token or OAuth or something?
There is. And the wild thing about this exploit is that the kubelet and different things that use the access control and the way that Kubernetes has historically scoped that access control is through this particular part of the server.
So basically, you do not store the token properly.
Yeah. And so because you're allowed to create these kinds of things, then I'm really not very smart right now. I have a terrible cold right now. Somebody else talk for a second. I'm gonna get myself together.
It's like a cookie that's being sent by a browser automatically in the background. If you can session write or cross-site scripting or something, and you can make that browser make a request on your behalf, it happily sends its token along on your behalf. That's what I'm thinking. So
I guess
server-side request forgery gets the server to send its token to the API. And
without SSRF, though, I think if you're making a request inbounds you're still going through the proxy and inbound request to the kubelet.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about it as a web browser, it makes sense if you're thinking about it as an API, but I think the moving parts involved are a little bit different. So you want to, there is an API server that allows you to have administrative access. You can make it so that if you perform an API request against that thing and the token matches, which it can in this case, then you can do anything within the cluster.
That's
because pod execution, attach, port forward, everything else are included in the RBAC permissions for namespace constrained users. But if you do this, you are the namespace constrained user. So it just makes you admin.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is there a parallel in Docker? Is there a similar configuration of Docker that might expose the same kind of fundamental issue?
Not really, because the reason why Kubernetes exists is because these kinds of communications, if you are just using Docker without an orchestrator, can be really difficult between containers. And so a lot of you could see this with the previous CVEs about Kubernetes too, there isn't really an equivalent because it's like, well, there's layers. And so this layer talks to this layer, talks to this layer, talks to this access control. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so dumb today.
That's fine. Thanks for coming on again and explaining Kubernetes.
Yeah, because we literally We're all just like token and
There's a lot happening there, and I was just peeking while I was like at the CVE write-up, which just got like 3 times as long. So I was trying to read and talk at the same time.
No worries.
Go ahead.
I mean, if we just look at the score, we're at 9.8, right? So we basically tick all the boxes for remote exploits, etc.
If you're at 9.8, you need to upgrade to at least 10, like yesterday.
No, sorry, not CVSS score 9.8.
Oh, it's a CVS score of 9.8. Yes. And people, as I said, were confused about that because people were like, "It's a local privask. Like, what's your problem?" And it's because it is all of the things. Because the way that the API servers work, those are the things that make everything go. So it could be both, and that's why. And I don't know. I don't have the data access as to how many people updated in the last day, but like 10.0 is pretty high for everything below it to be unpatchable. Like when I was doing talks in July about how you shouldn't be on 1.6, like half the audience was on 1.6, you know? So I suspect that there's going to be a fair amount of stuff in the wild floating around that's affected by this for probably a while.
Nice. Is there active exploits out for this?
Not one that is being shared.
So that's it. That's a yes.
Well. All right. Yeah. Thanks again, though, for coming on and explaining to us, because we were just kind of glazed over that.
Yeah, no problem. My apologies for having a terrible cold.
I think that if you Google, it's running big Kuba managed clusters for people. I'm going to assume that Google are in on the embargo. You should probably check, but I would assume that. Why is my actual Google thing is listening to me? Stop.
GPA, not GPA. Oh my goodness! All right, I'm the worst right now. Google Cloud Platform has already patched for it. Azure has already patched for it. I have not heard that EKS, which is AWS's Kubernetes offering, has patched for it. OpenShift has patched for it. I assume that AWS has. I just haven't heard anybody talking about it. So if you're on a cloud provider, certainly if you're on a cloud provider that isn't AWS, you're fine. If you're rolling your own, you should get on that because, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to get my mute off. Anybody here there's been a lot of questions about Kubernetes in the chat while we're discussing this. Everybody check out episode 35 of ThugCrowd, where Ian Goldwater actually explains Kubernetes and container security to us. It's an awesome episode that you should definitely watch if you have any questions about it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, let's get into the next story real quick so we can kind of finish up some of those because we had a lot of news still. The next one is actually really funny. Well, I thought it was funny, and I shared it in my work Slack, thinking that it was a cool exploit. You know, I just shared the POC, and then hours later, there's just a full-on, like, everybody in the company from like the top brass puts out an advisory saying everybody must update their Zoom clients immediately, like critical vulnerability. I'm like, oh, I was just like, I don't know. I thought it was just like really cool, but then I forgot that like people care about not getting hacked. So yeah, basically Zoom has a really interesting bug where you can, it's like you can make requests to the chat if you know the username and the local IP or the IP of the person. And you can do stuff like control their screen if they're sharing the screen and like send keys to it, as well as end the entire meeting, spoof chats, and other fun stuff.
Spoof chats, that's nice.
Yeah, it's literally like everything that's from, I guess, I don't know, much like some people were comparing it to AIM and some other just random IRC and old bugs. But yeah, this is definitely big because Zoom is everywhere. People use it all over the place for corporate meetings, for internal trainings, and just by knowing somebody's username, which is public, and knowing the internal IP, which if you're on the corporate LAN, then you probably could guess, you could use it to actually just control other people's computers.
I think that, like, you imagine a scenario where there's like one of those like all hands meetings, right? There's like hundreds, maybe 1,000 people plus in a meeting, and the CEO's, and then in the text chat, the CEO just says like, "Fuck you guys."
Well,
and
so
like,
I was actually working on. I was working on a thing while I was my lunch break. I was just trying to test it somewhere so I could spam the Venga Boys "Boom Boom" song as but I didn't. Everyone patched before I finished. Damn it, they always do that. But yeah, no, definitely interesting thing to look at and check out because it's if you use Zoom, please update. It's easy to do. You can do it within the menu and just update check for updates and grab the latest one.
Is Zoom based on something like a library or Matrix or libpurple or something?
I'm
or
not
are they written
sure. There's actually a lot of clients like Ring Central and Blue Jeans and some other ones that all seem to use the same protocol. So I'm not exactly sure if those are affected or not.
Yeah, I think.
I just saw the UDP and I'm thinking WebRTC UDP issue. That's what alerted my brain when I read that article.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like WebRTC is like the media streaming protocols are pretty much all the same, but I think it's going to be a case of the transport that they're using, and then like if it's just pushing UDP data, maybe the packet is just the header, like what somebody says, and then below it, like the contents of what they're saying, the JSON object or something.
And someone man in the middling this client would have seen like plain text in the body of UDP messages and thought, I wonder if I change those and just resend them. Does that show up?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I think it's something very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, but whereas the video
amazing that this wouldn't get picked up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're unlikely to be directly affected. It's more just the management around all of the.
Yeah.
I actually want to see
Zoom needs to get audited a little bit. I mean, Skype has these kind of dumb bugs all the time, so I think Zoom needs a little bit more attention from exploit devs.
Yeah, I did look at it for a little bit, and it was just I didn't end up getting far with it. I realized that what I was looking at was just a launcher that launches the actual app. There's two exes that are on Windows. And so I was like, oh, this is just launching a URI. And then I'm just like, okay. So it's actually, I don't know why.
Discord works.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of random applications that just launch each other. And you're just like, oh, so you get to the end of it. You finally look at the last executed syscall. It's just called to open this URI. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's skip ahead real quick though. I wanted to talk about this industrial espionage campaign that leverages AutoCAD based malware. This is actually really interesting. People are trying to do basic industrial espionage on people who are hardware designers by sending malicious AutoCAD files, which is pretty interesting because that's
very targeted.
I was under the impression that the malware was modifying existing AutoCAD. So they're sending new AutoCAD files.
Yeah, they're sending AutoCAD files that are basically just malicious. They have links to websites and other stuff in there. I actually would like to see an example of them because I haven't really played with AutoCAD stuff, but I know people that do, and it'd be interesting to see how they actually are able to load stuff. Because I mean, they're very complicated files, and so they're going to have a lot of information that's very densely packed. That you're like, if you look at the schematics for a car or a whole server blade, if you were to look at an AutoCAD file for that, I wouldn't be able to point out anything in there. So it's probably very difficult to actually see.
I want to see like something that finds like a known pattern in AutoCAD, like where you design a specific, pattern between like a bunch of linked objects, and then the malware detects it and just like swaps them around, so it always catches fire. Something,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So apparently,
that would be the top tier AutoCAD hacking.
Apparently, there's it uses the scripting engine inside AutoCAD. It's fast load auto Lisp.
Oh, auto Lisp.
So
yeah. Dash is saying in the chat that what? Sorry.
It just that's if someone's actually sending like malicious AutoCAD files to target engineers specifically, that's super targeted.
Yeah. I mean, even sending somebody incorrect AutoCAD files is also pretty bad as well. Just turn off this cryptographic link to the CPU for like CRC checking or whatever. Just redirect those to ground. But yeah, Dash was saying in the chat that it's very similar to how PDF works, where you can tuck extra things in an AutoCAD file. There's lots of padding, and you can access them with different pointers. So interesting, though. I'd never thought of that, but that's awesome.
I
Well,
guess
not
this
awesome
is
that we can get it, but
where AutoCAD fuzzing people need to start fuzzing those different formats, because I'm sure the handlers are not like the libraries that handle them are not the same as in the case of Adobe, for example. They just throw package.
Yeah,
they don't necessarily use the latest version of like zlib or whatever. Maybe they use the latest version of zlib, but some obscure library they're using may not be up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Nested vulnerability. Hello.
Yeah, anytime you have a file parser, you have something that's vulnerable.
Yeah, the next one. What?
The SMB ports on routers, just real quick, because this is an old tech.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying that you did it in the when I say you, I mean he mentioned that he did it in the OSCP like just recently on an old machine, like UPnP NAT forwarding, right? Straight up.
Yeah. It was definitely the laziest, probably most shameful way that I booted a box, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when this is like these types of attacks were like super new. But looking at the exploit for some of these newer routers, it looks like there's actually memory corruption involved. But UPnP is still exposed, which if you just firewalled that off to the LAN interface, you'd probably just prevent all of this stuff. But I just think it's interesting. 2018, same technique. Or same target, I guess, similar technique. You basically want to take port forwarding service and create dodgy NAT rules so that you can get inside the network. Like, why isn't this fixed yet? 20 years later, we're still going.
I think the phrase is "we out here."
We out.
So I was grabbing a drink real quick. But yeah, no, that's definitely interesting stuff using what they believe to be Eternal Blue, which is definitely
Eternal Blue and Eternal Red.
That's our tax dollars at work there.
But see, that's But the thing with the admin shares and whatever, like just port forwarding. Someone else has to talk for a moment. I'm sorry.
I'll start using the phrase "your tax dollars at work" every time anyone talks about Eternal Blue now.
What I didn't find in the article or in the discussion around this from Akamai was, after opening up the port, did they see a follow-up attack immediately against SMB? And it doesn't seem like they did. So could this just be a spray, like a ransomware guys figured out a way to pop open SMB ports on a lot of Soho routers? So he figured he'd do that as a way to give back to the community. Or is there actually a targeted attack that follows up?
He's not open. Is it actually the? I thought these were dirty NAT tables. So they were using UPnP to poison the NAT table and then hit the machines behind.
Yeah, effectively.
There is furthermore, Akamai believes hackers deploy targeting Linux subsystems for Samba. So that would then go, okay, well, maybe they're also attacking file sharing services on the router themselves. You plug a USB stick into a router, it shares it over, whatever. But at that point, if you've got code execution through UPnP, I don't think you need to go.
I don't think they do. I don't know if they do have code execution through UPnP. So opening up other ports to the router itself that you do have a vulnerability for is viable.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I did read one or two exploits that were definitely code execution. They weren't just making the UPnP requests, and they came out.
Did it sound nation statey or? Just sound
No,
like a
they
nation
just
state.
no. The like these are on exploit DB, and you can look at them. They're
No, I'm
they're
talking about
basically
the actual article we're talking about right now, the Akamai attack. Is that a nation state attack?
I don't think so.
Hacking team? What about the Spanish cookie thing that they put in the payload?
I don't think it's. Maybe it's just some Spaniards. I'm not convinced this is nation state. I think it's an ARP for sure. But I think if it was nation state, they would go after something, the bigger fish to gain all this in the end anyway. Like, with things like TR69 and over the air firmware updates, like there's no reason they couldn't just go over the OTA server and push out like whatever.
I keep not being able to turn off my mute. So yeah, it's 10:30 now here. Definitely wanted to discuss one last thing before we talk to Dual Core and YTCracker. So it's the end of our thing, at the end of our notes. It says LOL or E. Post that again in chat here. That is Rudy Giuliani accidentally making a link to g-20.in and somebody just registering that domain and just making it say Donald Trump is a traitor to our country. It's one of the funniest things that I've seen in a while, because he also replies with, Twitter allowed someone to invade my text with a disgusting anti-president message. The same thing, period, no space, occurred later and it didn't happen. Don't tell me they are not committed, card-carrying anti-Trumpers. Time magazine may fit that description. Fairness, please. So regardless of what the message itself is, it's just a really funny execution of somebody just buying a domain that a public figure accidentally tweets because they just didn't properly space their tweet, and then also getting mad saying that it's like a political hit job.
How is this Twitter's fault?
You made?
He's the cyber
I don't
expert.
understand.
Just remember that this man was appointed like cyber czar or whatever.
Yes,
too,
that is
right?
the best part. Is that he is literally he was on that commercial for like the what is it? I think it was Experience.
This is why internet is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this man is in charge of our cybersecurity. His Joomla site, you can visit it, is amazing. So check it out. And yeah, it's a Joomla cybersecurity site, which is very old Joomla. But yeah, so definitely interesting. Make sure, I guess, when you're making a tweet that you want to sync in, don't make any accidentally have any unregistered domains in there, because people will register them, because I'm pretty sure g-20.in was probably like $3.
The guy literally
Speaking
just
of,
forgot his space. That was his downfall right there. He just forgot his
And
space.
you can take like coupon everywhere, discount, promo code. You get like 50%, 20. The domain is gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
I think another thing for people to look at as well, like if you are looking into this sort of thing a little bit, there is the list of upcoming expiring domains, and it's been there was a while where Google had the grandfathered G Suite accounts, so you could just look for the expiring domains that have MX records to Gmail, and then like buy that domain for $1, and then you end up with a lifetime G Suite.
That's just like a game right now, RuneScape. OSRS, basically there's a third-party client, RuneLite. There's someone that did start buying every country, TLD, and he sent basically a malware. And I think if you look news, there's at least over 1K people that got infected by that. And the guys, you can see picture, like he steal the money from their PayPal, everything. That's pretty like, people need to check what they're typing and which website they visit.
Absolutely. That's typo squatting. All that is literally just the crux of a lot of what we do. You can also check out IYIN which links to this stream. So yeah, lots of things like that.
Call 911. I've been shot.
So yeah, but that's it for our news. We have quite a bit, so if you didn't get to check out, or we didn't get to cover everything, so definitely check out some of the funnier stories that are here, and the good reads, and the lulls, and the laughs and the gaffs. So yeah, let's get into our special guests here. Int80, YTCracker. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
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 Hi. Hello.
Huge fan, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is going great. It's going
Oh
really
god,
good.
we're a bunch of nerds and we're surrounded by famous people. Don't actually.
So
We're just good at rapping, not at conversation. Sorry.
But that's not normally how rappers introduce themselves, in my experience.
Are you gonna rap for us?
They don't just go,
All right,
hi.
so hot, yo, welcome to Sway in the Morning, Hot 97, you know what it is. Int80, YTCracker on the show.
Gunshot.
Yeah. So welcome to the Breakfast Club. Thank you for joining us here. So yeah, we kind of just wanted to talk to you and just riff about things because you guys are. We wanted to do more highlights of people who are both part of hacker culture as well as people who make music and media and also are actually about that life, so to say, because we see a lot of things in the media and a lot of things in general where we just laugh at how people portray hackers and all that. And I just wanted to get you guys' take. I guess we can go from there.
Actually, can we go back to the Twitter inadvertent link from Giuliani? Do you guys
Absolutely.
remember when you could do domain tasting and you could like register a domain name and it like you could have it free for some period of time and then decide whether or not you wanted to keep it? And I think it was like Network Solutions was registering every domain name that got searched through their site. So the break was like some guy registered. So you register everything that I search.com or something like that. And then he had, like all of these like Network Solutions, hostkittyporn.com and everything. And they were all like registered to Network Solutions. And then like the like amazing like turn on that was because the headline was, so you register everything I search.com. Somebody actually went and bought the domain and then they put up like a bunch of ads on it and made a bunch of money. And I was like, that's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. No, this is like classic thing. And it's funny to see how it plays out for somebody who just tweets something like that when you could delete the tweet and redo it, but I guess it's there.
Yeah, for
Although
sure.
I'm not sure if he can because he's like it's public record, so I don't know if he can actually delete tweets. I know Trump can't anymore, and he can't block people. So, yeah, good way to just keep an eye out for that kind of thing.
Filthy fucking text intruders.
Okay, so sorry, going back to the original questions. I forget what you guys asked. Something about do we like rap music or I like rap music.
Kind of ripping on. You guys can just tell us, I guess, about what you guys do outside of it, because I know a lot of people know you guys as rappers, but I've also know you guys as DEF CON speakers and bug bounty hunters and CTFers and hackers. So there's just. I guess you guys want to. I don't know who wants to start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know.
My name's Int80. I'm the rapper in a group called Dual Core. I hack computers for a living and make rap music about it. The end.
And you just got off a big tour? That was good.
Oh yeah. Tour was good. I didn't die, so that was the bonus.
Not that is a good bonus.
Who were you on tour with?
I was on tour with two other rappers, MC Chris, who you listeners might know from shows like Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, C-Lab, and then his like extensive discography. And then Lex, the Lexicon artist, who is a relative newcomer to the scene of nerdcore, but she is ambitious and driven and super energetic on stage as well.
I like her. She's a cool girl. I got the pleasure of meeting her like a few weeks ago. She was cool. It was good seeing you too, man. It's good seeing the mustache.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, happy to be around.
So I guess there's a lot of stuff you guys seem to be able to jam into track that I think go like like a lot of nerd people are listening, and I guess the demographic of ThugCrowd is maybe some of those people that would get the references. But I feel like not everybody gets it. So like most of your inspiration you mentioned like it comes from hacking lol. Like what are some scenarios that you can think of that like specifically like drove you to be like, I gotta write a song about
One that's related to both of us actually is a song on the dual core 4th album. The song is called I Remember, and the album's called Next Level. But on the I Remember track, both YTCracker and I rap about old AOL stuff. That was kind of like where we grew up as kids. And I remember the first time I met YTCracker, we were just like, it was like Nerdapalooza 2008. We were playing in Orlando, Florida, and we were somehow got to talking about AOL stuff. And he pulls up this CNET article on his iPhone, and it's like about him hacking into Chris, which was CRIS, which was like the, I think, internal like customer service system or something. And so, like a lot of it comes from just shenanigans and past experiences, and some of it's, artistic liberty piecing together certain storylines or segments.
I co-sign that. That's accurate.
How often are you guys putting bits of technical info within there that might be not necessarily privileged knowledge, but I don't know, you kind of know where I'm going with that?
I used to be like really, I don't know, cagey about stuff, but it's like there's this shit that I would sprinkle in sometimes that I don't know. I need to do like a behind the music on a lot of tracks because there's things that are just super insidey joke that like only like 5 or 6 people get, and it's cool to see people try to like interpret it on Rap Genius or something like that. But there are some things that are like really funny that I was admitting to a crime, and I just wait until statute of limitations goes away or something. So yeah, but I think that's fun too. I'm pretty sure the rappers of the street variety do this as well, but
Okay, just did that recently.
a little
He
more
can do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I don't have any like ode in my rap. My raps are all actually meaningless, and I just write songs that I think sound good, and then I let the listeners interpret the meaning. When I was in like high school, I remember being in English class, and the teacher was like, "What did the author mean by this?" And I'm like, I wrote like, "This is what I got out of it. This is why I think," pointing to like other pieces of other paragraphs or whatever from the literature to like provide context. And the teacher's like, "No, this is wrong. This isn't what the author meant." And I'm like, "How do you know? Like, are you the author? Like, you don't know what the author meant." Yeah. And so anyways, at that point I was like, I can write whatever I want, and anybody's going to interpret it however they want. So there is no meaning in any dual core lyrics. Whatever you get out of it is what you get out of it.
Nice. I mean, you got a few like 10 Hack Commandments, right? That's pretty explicit.
Yeah, I guess so. That's cool. And I it's funny because I talked to the Gruck about it, and he was like, "Do you want me to help you write this?" And I'm like, "No, I'm pretty sure that I have more experience writing rap songs than you do, but I got it." And then like I put the song out sometime later. I'd actually talked to him about it like years before, and I just like never got around to recording it. And then he was just like, "Oh man, like that was amazing. You did great." He's like, "I was worried you were gonna like write something awful and get some kids arrested or something."
What?
No, like why would I do that? Like I need all the hackers I can get.
Have faith in the process, man. That's real. The Gruck, man. You gotta respect.
I think Whitey, it was your comment that to someone in the last, I don't know, recently, that was like, if you want to go to jail, listen to me. If you want to get a job, go listen to 80.
80, yeah. That's what I think. Yeah, that's good.
So I saw in the chat, Jack had a question that was just curious, how do you guys find the wordplay to incorporate tech and hacking topics into your flow? And I think for me, like sometimes that's just like me, like just kind of freestyling randomly, and some kind of like weird sounding cadence comes out, and I like it, and I go with it. A lot of it, I think, comes from just like talking to other people, right? And we'll like joke around between friends, and like you'll just say something silly. Like for example, this isn't like tech related, but I used to live in just south of San Francisco in a city called San Bruno. But like I would call it Sam Bueno because I thought it was funny, you know. And then like all my friends started calling it Sam Bueno. So you know, a lot of my like wordplay stuff, I think, just generally comes out of goofing off and talking to people and being stupid all the time.
I guess you also had a track that was, I guess, like it was like a reverse cautionary tale about firing hackers who work for you, and then they get their revenge.
Oh yeah, life's work.
Life's work. Yeah. I thought that was an interesting take on it because, you know, like most of the time, you know, it's sort of the other way around. Like, don't be an evil hacker because you'll get in trouble. Whereas it's a different story.
Yeah, and funny enough, at the time that I released that song and that album, the employees that are named were all like first names of employees that I worked with. And so my manager, like the director of the department, like he had got a copy of the album, and he was like, "Oh, I really like this song. Interesting that, you know, like your 3 coworkers are the 3 like evil hackers in the song." And then he like made some comment to somebody in a meeting once about like moving to Singapore or something, and I was like, "Oh no."
So how did the track on Watch Dogs come about?
There was a guy from Ubisoft, the game studio, that made Watch Dogs 2. He was at DEF CON, and I can't remember which year it was, but it was, you know, like maybe a year and a half or 2 years, I think, before the game came out. And Ubisoft had not announced that they were even doing the game or anything. And he was just there doing research to like work into the game and the storyline. And somebody was taking him around and being like, "You need to go to this village and you need to go to this talk and whatever." And then he was like, "And you got to go see Dual Core." And so the guy was at the show and he saw us play the show and he was just like, "I need that in our game." And he emailed me like immediately after DEF CON and was like, "Hey, I work at Ubisoft and you can't tell anybody yet, but we're making Watch Dogs 2 and I really want to have your music in the game. Can we like move forward with this?" And so then after that, it was like all NDAs and everything. And so it was just coincidental. Like a lot of the artists that we work with, that YTCracker and I work with, they work hard to get their music into bigger platforms, right? They're out there grinding, like trying to make industry contacts so that they can shop their music for deals into like games and movies and TV. And mine was just totally coincidental and lucky. Funny enough, I think a year after that, we were playing at DerbyCon, and I think that they had announced that Watch Dogs 2 was coming out, but they hadn't announced like any of the music in it. And I had just played a show with Method Man and Redman, and I was like, I looked up my phone, and someone was like had a screenshot of Watch Dogs 2 that had the MP3 player, the playlist, and it had our song in it, and they were like, "Oh my god, like Dual Core is in Watch Dogs 2." And I was like I don't know where that screenshot came from. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from Ubisoft saying it's okay to talk about it. And so I just had to completely ignore that post and be like, "Hey, look over here. I'm like chilling with Redman. I'm chilling with Method Man. Like check this out instead." And then the next day, Ubisoft was like, "Oh, hey, we're like super happy to announce that Dual Core is involved in Watch Dogs 2." And so then I was able to like post about it. So it was a pretty cool weekend. But that first screenshot leak, had me nervous. Like, oh man, are they going to suspect me and pull the game or something?
Yeah, I remember you were under embargo. Your OPSEC is really good. Like you don't even share shit with yourself. I don't think. Do you talk to yourself about anything?
Nope.
You can trust 80 with secrets too. Me, not so much. I'll blow the spot up. So yeah, keep that in mind too.
I guess it's interesting because Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2 were not specifically games for hackers. They were more, the GTA let me experience some element of hacking, right, for a wider audience, which is something like I guess Whitey and I have spoken about before. Is like if you made a Venn diagram of the people who truly understand like the technicals that like drop into the tracks versus the people who just like the way it sounds. I mean, there's not a whole lot of crossover sometimes. Yeah.
Well, what 80 said earlier too, like about like the hustle and stuff. Like a lot of our contemporaries are super good about being prolific with you know, like the music they're putting out, and then you know how much they're touring and who they're talking to and all this stuff. But I'm really lazy. I don't know if David's as lazy as I am. Like I think he's actually pretty studious, but in that regard, like I think that's another thing is because it's so boutique. I mean, even within nerdcore, like it's very hard to reach out and across that and find that whatever. And we do have a very specific fan base, and it's not cheapened by the fact that like our music's got that different barrier to entry. And I personally like being hipster about that shit because you immediately know, like if you're talking to a fan that's any way decent, that they pretty much have a like a brain. Like I can immediately assume that someone has like a competent IQ sort of understanding if they are a fan of mine or 80s music. So helping that's a good filtration system too, by being elitist and shitty to people.
I gotta say though, man, introduce Niels. You know, that album definitely reached outside the normal bubble, man. I saw like English lit majors I worked with getting into that album. So when's the second one coming out?
fire.
Cool. I love that album. I'm like I said, it's a bittersweet for me because there's some shit I still need to finish with that. I feel like it's unfinished business. But technically and artistically that was my favorite shit to do.
I feel like we need introducing Niels too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
man, when's that coming out?
well, like there's been a few ideas I was kicking around. The problem is the political climate is like so ridiculous that I can't. I don't know. Like there was this entire story arc I would have had if like Bernie Sanders would have been elected or something, and that didn't happen. And I should have known though, like that it was gonna just be all fucked up like this, because yeah, Donald Trump getting elected really fucked up my musical career. Like that, I blame him. Like I'm gonna put that in the papers. I'm gonna have to hit up Mueller and have him.
Someone has to be held accountable for that.
Right. It's hard to write like dystopian fiction when it's already like it's already happening every single day. Like
right.
it's hard to get ahead of the curve.
Right. Yeah. Like where do I go from here exactly? Like how much crazier can it get? And there's like a lot of cool things in the zeitgeist with Black Mirror, and there's the new kind of writing prompts from Reddit sort of stuff that people have come up with some decent ideas, and I think like it's I guess the technology impact on the humankind is starting to be looked at a lot more favorably. But I'm fairly certain that music like mine and 80s, that there's always going to be like a buried entry again, but it's so futuristic, motherfuckers just don't even know. And I know a lot of rappers talk about that, but like real talk, like there's just so much like pound for pound, like no, like you could really get a master's degree in computer security if you just like play like an album front to back by one of us. So it's really I don't know. I suck 80s dick. I suck my own dick.
I think it's a funny like it's funny like you say that, and then on the front album 0 Day, obviously the title track has both of you guys on it, and now Front generally is a less technical rapper. He like raps more about like video games and other nerd stuff, like other nerd life shit. Yet that track, I mean, 80 has push pop chain order, stack frame philo, file system inodes, all fall to my flow. Like if you break that down out of that track and pull it out, and then you go like, wait, what does this actually mean? Like what does this actually do? What is the process that is being described? I mean, that's pretty. I don't know. It's just like a really quick thing that kind of flies past by, and you go back and go like, wait, what?
The story behind that track is when we were on tour. When I was on tour with Front and Lars, I was explaining what 0 Day meant, like to front a lot because he's got a very technical background and he's done like programming, web design stuff, and he's a super dope artist. But so he got it like immediately. But that's kind of where he just that got into his ear, and then he was like, I'm gonna title my album that. And then obviously 80 and I were the obvious choices for that track, but that was a lot of fun actually. It happened at a really crazy time in my life. There was a lot of shit going on, but so I have a different memory of shooting the video and all that stuff. But yeah, that was dope. That was really good. 80
Dude, tell us about the video, man. Fucking loves that video, but you were like cold beans.
There's
out
a
of the can
lot
and
of
shit.
work behind that video.
Yeah, we were in North Carolina, like, but I had just some shit with my business had just completely gone to shit. Like my best friend of 10 years fucking stabbed me in the back and stole all this money, and it was like ridiculous. Like I was just at this low point, and I literally took like some of the last money that I actually had access to just fly out and make this video happen, because I was gonna originally just do it. I was gonna do a green screen because I was like, I can't fucking think about this. I don't have the bandwidth for it right now. But it was good because 80 and I were there, and I'm trying to remember the names of the people that were doing it, but it was like some film students. And I mean, they had like this, like a dolly rig and, you know, all the robot stuff that they'd made up. And they'd storyboarded the video out pretty well. But it's that video is sick. But it was a good time. Like that's the thing, is it helped get my mind off all the shit that was going on, and we had a good time shooting it.
Nice. How long did that take?
It was like a day, I think.
It was 2 days. It was like over a weekend. YTCracker, can I tell the story of picking you up at the airport?
Yeah, but yeah.
You gotta talk
it?
now.
I don't know if I remember what happened.
I drove to North Carolina because I was living in Cincinnati at the time, where I grew up, and YTCracker flew in, so I went to the airport to get him. Actually, he flew in at the very last second. Like the whole time, he was like, "Oh, I don't think I can make it. No, I'm not gonna be able to make it." And we're like, "Dude, like we're here. Like just come and do the shoot. Like you already have the ticket." And so we talked him into coming, and then I got to the airport and I got him, and I could like smell the booze off of him while he was like at the top of the escalator, and I was like on the ground waiting for him to come down. And he just like kept telling me over and over how some people in the airport recognized him and like asked for his autograph and wanted to take pictures and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, like cool, that's dope, and I'm driving him and I'm like, hey, if you need to pull over or anything, just let me know. And he's like, oh no, I'm good. And then a short time later he's like, oh yeah, you need to pull over. And then he threw up all over the side of my car. And
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
And then fortunately it was mostly on the outside. And so I just went to a gas station. I got some Clorox wipes and we cleaned the car up. But yeah, that was real fun.
he got syringes and started sending me to the CRISPR scientists to reconstitute my DNA. And that's the new shit. But that's funny. That was a good time though, and Front was bald like always. So like,
yeah. I thought that the song wasn't actually going to happen because I had just met Front a lot, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have you on the title track on my new album." But rappers talk all the time and nothing happens, and so I was just like, "Yeah, okay, sounds good." And some months went by without hearing anything, and then he finally sent me some stuff. And I was like, "Oh, that's dope." And then the video turned out way better than I thought. And I hadn't seen the filming of the part, like the intro part where he's like fighting the robot inside the house and stuff. Like the only parts that I had seen were just like the basement where we filmed. And YTCracker was at South by the following year with his iPad and was like, "Oh yeah, have you seen the video?" And then he like played it for me. I think we were in like my friend William's like condo thing downtown. It was like super nice. They'd bought some Grey Goose and some Balls energy drink for us, and we were just chilling there watching this video on the iPad, and I was like so impressed. I was like couldn't get over how well it came out.
So it's been a long running question and also sort of joke. Original Digital Gangsters can we expect to see some YTCrackerness, some Lars, and throwing some Int80 in
DG
there?
for life.
Lars is just talking about that on Twitter like today. He's
Dude, he's been talking about that for some time, I think.
Yeah, he's been wanting to do DJ. It's been like now I think it's been 10 years. I think
Yeah, it's been.
I think
It has been.
Dude,
that's so fucking crazy.
You should totally get K-Flay on there.
Yeah.
Dude, you get a Grammy these days.
Yeah, like Flay and I still talk. There's something I don't know what's going on between like Lars and Flay. Like they know each other from Stanford and shit.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think they're like, I don't know the dynamic. Like Flay is somebody, like I said, I talked to her, but I don't even consider her like in our strata anymore. She's like somebody, like she's fucking Beyonce as far as I'm concerned now.
Playing with like Tom Morello and shit now, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, well that's I mean, and then I
Tomb
like
Raider
she's
soundtrack.
always been like this indie kind of queen sort of thing. So I don't know. It's one of the things I think we always knew that she had it, but stooping to our level, like I listen to the corny shit she's done with us, and I'm just like, God, man, you really swinging low here. But it was good. Thanks,
Is that
Flay,
a track where you
helping us out.
where you rapped with a British
accent?
She was
Yeah, that
like-
was funny.
Fucking King Arthur, whatever that was.
We had a great Guinevere. The people made all these
Guinevere
videos because there was some like TV show that was out. It was making fun of King Arthur's shit. So people were putting compilation videos on YouTube with those clips. But yeah, I don't. Lars like is kind of. I mean, he definitely like has the literature chops and stuff.
Yeah.
And like his hacking is limited to like pirating music, and I think he cracked a video game once or twice. So he's got a different artistic palette than we do.
Oh, yeah.
So the digital gangster thing, like I love, I still consider him one because he's a hip hop laptop rapper. So whatever.
We have a couple questions that have been popping up in the chat. They're in Voices Voice now. If you guys want to talk about them. One of them is from Rufflewitz. It's Int80. Can you talk about the story of Victor? I've heard the name in a few of your songs, and I'm curious if you do not understand.
Yeah, so it's a storyline that kind of transcends several of the albums, and it's actually two storylines that are intertwined. Both are fictional, just to start to frame that. But the first part, actually, like chronologically, is from the song "Void," "No Return" on our first album, 01, and the story follows a kid named John who like has these abusive parents, and he knows that he's going to get in trouble for his grades, and so he and I think 2 or 3 of his friends hacked the school's database server, and then they changed their grades, but they end up getting caught. And at the end of that song, John is like basically on like house arrest with his parents. And then in our fourth album, Next Level, there's a song called "The Game," and it features a character named Victor who lives in like the ex-Soviet bloc, and so Victor is like this hacker, and he's like basically with his skills, it's either scam people online or like be part of organized crime or whatever. And he ends up getting chased by some kind of law enforcement and apprehended, and is intended to be extradited to the U.S. And then in All the Things, our fifth album, there's a song called "Hear Them Talking," and it kind of intertwines the two storylines and talks about how Victor is like living in this apartment in America, and there's this kid that's in the on the same floor named John, and he basically teaches John how to hack. And so it's kind of like it's like how John got up to the part of like being able to shell his school's database to change his grades. And then on our sixth album, Downtime, there's a song called "Start Another Chapter," and it's about like the early days of Victor. I think it only just briefly mentions Victor once, so you kind of have to have like heard the songs to be able to like piece together that it's talking about Victor. One that's like not like explicitly enumerated, but on our 5th album, All the Things, there's a song called Farewell, and there's 2 separate storylines in Farewell, and one of the storylines is actually meant to be John as well, but I never explicitly mention John or Victor. So again, it's all fictitious, but like, you know, the storylines I thought were pretty cool.
Nice.
That
What
was
that
asked in
next?
chat as well.
We had a second
Put in here.
question there.
Wait, what?
So this one was for Whitey. Like, how long does it typically take you to come up with a beat?
Oh, I saw that. That's like one of those questions, like, where do you get your ideas?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't have a real concrete answer there. I mean, what the fuck? I don't know. Sometimes I hear a beat, I'm like, this is hard, and then sometimes I'm like, listen to beats for hours, and I'm like, these suck. Fuck this.
I mean,
and then I'll try to make my own, and then it sucks, and I fucking hate
And
music.
sometimes something sounds so good before you go sleep. I'm drunk as fuck. I make a fucking instrumental. I wake up, I listen to it again. I'm like, what the fuck I was doing?
Yeah, that's a bad one too.
Although I think, so for example, if you compare maybe Plead the Fifth, I know you worked quite a bit.
Not really. Like that one. So that one, I finished it like that. That's been out. Like I've had it done for a couple years probably. Like I did the beat and I did the song and the lyrics, and I just never recorded it. Like that happens a lot. Like there's a ton of text files on my hard drives and stuff where I just put down little things that I thought of. Some people use their notes on their phone. You know, I'm just nano or text edit guy, and I just throw lyrics in, and it's really easy. I hate writing on a notebook, because it's like sometimes when I rearrange, like I don't like where things are in a song, so like rearrange them, and it's super easy with a computer. And so I don't know if I'm disrespecting the hip hop elements by doing that, or if it is more in my character purview to do that sort of thing. But I don't know. I have so much shit that like I've even written. Sometimes I'll go back way, years, and I'll find like some sort of couplet that I did, and I'll dig it up for a new song. But yeah, I don't know.
So you were saying, what was it? Random Toxicity was just like the leftovers.
That was a bunch of leftovers. Yeah, that one was just shit that I had like in different. It was parts of different songs. That's a good one though. I'm glad you remember that. That's an example of something. I mean, you can just tell the song really goes nowhere. It's just a bunch of shit I'm just talking about. So yeah, that was just thrown together, copy paste.
Is there gonna be a song with Redman? Whoever was on tour with him, I don't know if it was Int or White.
We both played with them at different times actually. His was at DerbyCon and mine was at
Yo, drop a track with them, dude.
I don't know him that well. Like, I mean, Int80, I don't know if you've talked to them since. Like,
I talked to him a little bit, but I think I would need to like go through his manager or something. I had one song. See, basically, I look for feature artists based on the song that I'm writing, not like the actual artist itself. So, it's like I got to be writing a song where I'm like, oh man, I would love to get this person's perspective on this track. And the only song that I had where I was like, man, I really would love to get Redman on this was ShowerCon. And I thought like it would be amazing to have like Redman rap about this concept of like hackers having a party like in their hotel room, suites, bathroom, in like swimsuits and whatever, drinking all the booze, hacking all the things, and then like have Redman like wilding out in the video in Vegas with us. But he wasn't able to make it happen. So that was it. It was just me.
Yeah, that would have been dope.
Yeah, it's funny because you have like the darknet crossover, right? It's just like slinging drugs online and then slinging drugs in real life.
So I guess a thing that sort of happens a fair bit, I think, is like that you guys, when you got the topic for your song, you've got like the sort of structure or a few lines that is like the core thing you're trying to portray or trying to convey to your audience? Like, is there a song that has just gone over everyone's heads that you thought was like a, besides the entire album of Introducing Nils, I guess, but
Thanks. I don't know.
I was gonna say the whole album of Introducing Nils.
Nah, I don't know. 80. That's I don't know. Like I think, like I said, because our fan base is pretty savvy, so I don't know if there's anything that I've put out that like the people who would normally listen to it don't grab. What do you think, Dave?
Like I said, I don't have any meaning when I write stuff. I just write songs that I think sound good.
That's
so
bullshit. You artist, stop being a boy with your shit. Yeah. Your wordplay is really. That's the one thing that is good about this is that really like me and 80 can only really bite off each other. Like there's no one else that can really fake it type thing. So that helps that when you're writing computer lyrics, you can almost be sure that if Int80 didn't write these exact words, then no one else in history has. So luckily we got that going for us. No one can bite our rhymes without looking completely obvious.
Original digital gangsters.
Exactly. See, yes. Picking up what we're putting down here.
Yeah.
Let's not mention Weird Al Yankovic because I think he's been doing a lot longer.
Yeah, I was just about to say Weird Al Yankovic. Do you have to go back and check his Google? If you think you've come up with a clever computer rhyme that nobody's ever come up with before, did you have to quickly Google it to make sure Weird Al or somebody did mention it at some point?
I mean, Weird Al doesn't have. What he's got, like, All About the Pentiums, and I think
maybe a couple of songs, but there's
White
a couple of joke acts that have people like comedians that have done nerd rap sketches or whatever. I'd be worried about that. If I came up with a really clever rhyme and it seems really obvious to me, I would be Googling it to see if somebody else has already.
Yeah, I kind of actually think about like it's almost two separate camps of nerd rap music. Like I think there's or more, but in terms of like nerdcore, like when I think of like rappers, I think like the people that you commonly mention, right? Like YTCracker, myself, Front a Lot. When I think of like people, like when I start to think of Weird Al, I think of a completely different group of people, right? I think of like Devo Spice and like Luke Ski and like Dr. Demento, and I don't consider that like group of people to be like nerdcore rap. I think it's like more like comedy rap or parody rap.
No, don't get me wrong. Weird Al Yankovic is not nerdcore. He's more of like parody and polka. He's pretty much just there to pretty much make lulz and stuff like that. But he's a little smarter than he looks, so he kind of makes those neat references.
Would you call, say, Lil Dicky a nerdcore rapper? Do you think he falls into that?
I don't think that most people would consider Lil Dicky to be a nerdcore rapper, but as an example, I would think of Lupe Fiasco as a nerdcore rapper because he mentions like so much like sci-fi and like robot stuff, right? But he's like, if you name like the most famous nerdcore rapper, they're like nobody would name Lupe Fiasco in that list.
Yeah, I think
that's interesting because we can include like Donald Glover, Dr. Octagon, other guys like that. That fall into the same arena.
Deltron.
Deltron 3030.
Yeah, Deltron.
I mean, you're also kind of delineating nerdcore and hacker rap, so some sets there. So I think that's where you're going.
The Venn diagram that Dino was talking about earlier is very. There's a certain the barrier to entry to kind of getting into like 80s and my music is different than the rest of nerdcore is a little bit more approachable. Like everyone understands what Star Wars is and stuff, but
MC Chris shit, yeah.
Not many people can.
That's true.
Dereference a pointer.
So
I'm kind of curious.
More
I was kind of curious.
Like thing that's come up, I guess, recently is the Bitcoin. There's like a subreddit for Bitcoin music, but Bitcoin Baron obviously came out first. So like, how does that? Have you found that that's sort of brought more people? Like, I don't know. Do you think that's brought more people into like rapping about nerd stuff, or do you think that's just like money chasing? It's the same money chasing, different paper.
It's just hacker scene.
I just the whole last January, I was in Miami for the North American Bitcoin conference, and it was just like after last December's run, where I think Bitcoin was hovering around 18,000 or whatever, and it was just nuts. Like every fucking idiot and their mom was investing in crypto with not their money, their friends' money, all this shit, and like it was kind of terrible because again, there's this echelon of weird kind of the crypto Illuminati that I refer to. There's a few people basically that we've just been going to these conventions, when they originally were like cults, and same thing with like DEF CON type shit, like back at the Riv and stuff, when now it's like 3 hotels, that there's this whole like little kind of initial community that sort of sprouted and then grew into this like large thing. And with crypto, like there's a lot of people that are in it that don't understand it. I think the same is kind of hacking is sort of seeing the same sort of push. Like it's very alluring and it looks cooler than it really is type thing, so it attracts certain people. But I noticed that sort of what we do in like as computer hackers or whatever is very trendy, and so of course these things like Bitcoin are going to get picked up amongst a lot of different people. But still, again, kind of knowing that or having the ability to understand everything that's going on like in the scene, or what the nuts and bolts of these things are, I don't think a lot of people are really delving too deeply into.
I think it's a natural progression of the hacker scene. Just like the way that the hacker scene was very closely intertwined with the spammers and virus creators and now ransomware people and stuff. Crypto kind of falls into like an area that's hackers are naturally evolving to.
I'm gonna let you finish, but DNC had the hottest hacker track of all year.
That's true. Very true.
Look, I want to tell you something. The ThugCrowd thingy that I did, that tiny little thing, was made so quickly and it sounded like shit. And Whitey made me re-record it about 5 times and multi-track it. He's like, do this, do that, do this right now. Like, this is how it's doing. So I was going to go to sleep and he's telling me what to do. And I did it. And I sent it to him and he mixed it at the end. It was on an Atmos beat where I picked just a chunk, and then Whitey made it sound good. Like it like the beat sounded great, I sounded awful, and then somehow that came out. So that's all.
Nice. You guys got any crazy tour or just general stage stories? I'm sure there's a variety to choose from.
80, you want to take that?
Let's see. The tour was actually like this tour that I was just on was actually pretty low key. There were like 2 incidents at shows, but nothing like worth revisiting at the moment. I had to drive the entire tour, so I was driving like almost 3,000 miles per week, which was really fun.
Shit.
Let's see, man. I'm trying to think of like good like on stage stories. I know there's been like a bunch of weird stuff. Like okay, so I've got HushCon coming up. I'm playing at HushCon in Seattle on Saturday, and a couple years ago at HushCon, we were playing at this like the show was at this gay bar. It was called the Unicorn, and it was like super rad.
Jesus
Christ. Venue was like downstairs, and the stage was like this really rickety wood. And I was turbo faded, and I was like, I'm gonna put a hole in this stage tonight. That's what's gonna happen. And the set like culminated with me and Fuzzy Knop with our shirts off. I was rapping over Voodoo People by The Prodigy. It was a Pendulum remix. And me and Fuzzy Knop are just like stomping on the stage, like jumping up and down as hard as we can on the stage, trying to burst a hole in the floor of the stage. That reminds me of a future HushCon, HushCon East last year. We were playing in, I think in Brooklyn, and it was like me, Michael Kill, Schaefer the Dark Lord, and Frontalot. And Michael Kill went on first, and like before the show, at the sound check, the sound guy was like giving Schaefer and Frontalot a really hard time because they had their own sound setups with like their wireless mics and stuff. and they were having like some feedback issues. And I was like, I'm lazy. I don't really bring anything to shows, so I'll just use the house mics, and which are commonly like Shure, SM58s or PG58s. Like you don't need anything major for a live show, especially when artists are doing awful things on stage and ruining mics all the time. So anyways, I'm just trying to be nice to the sound guy. His name is Alex, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like Alex, like thanks so much for making my stuff sound good. Like I appreciate it. Like, and he's just like, yeah, tell your friends to get some, good wireless mics or whatever. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they have like near top of the line wireless mics, but whatever. And then in the set, so Michael went first, and his set was fine. And he proceeded to get like obliterated, falling down drunk. And and then Schaefer went, and then Frontalot went, and then I was the headliner. And Frontalot spilled water on the table during his set, and it got on like Fuzzy Knop's controller. So when we went on and tried to play, like the music wasn't playing right, the playback was all messed up. And so I was like, hey, Alex, like I don't know what to do. Can you help me out? Can we try like switching out different parts of the system? Can we try like new DI boxes, new cables, like whatever, and we'll just try to isolate down like what the issue is. And the sound guy was just super mad about it. And I was like, look, like I'm sorry, like I don't know, I'm asking for help. I'm not saying like this is your fault or you need to fix it. I'm just like asking for help, trying to like troubleshoot the situation, because like I don't know anything about sound or any of the equipment. And so anyways, he's just like super mad or whatever, and Michael's just like, fuck that guy. And so anyways, we figure out the controller is wrecked, and so we take Fuzzy Knop's controller and we just like smash it on stage, and he like jumps up and down on it or whatever, and we just play off the laptop. Yeah, so rip Tractor S4 or S2, whichever it was, and we play off the laptop, and show goes well, and we finish with all the things. And in the chorus, when like the audience is yelling hack all the things, I'm hearing this like banging noise to my right to the cadence of hack all the things, and like what is that? And I look, and Michael is like smashing the mic stand into the stage to the cadence of hack all the things. And I think on like the second hook, the second like go around after the second verse, his mic stops working, and I look over, and the mic stand is in like multiple pieces. And and so then we like finished the show out, and afterwards, like Michael's standing by his merch table and everything, and he's like, David, he's like, I want to go outside. He's like, let's go outside and we'll take Alex and we'll just brutally beat him, like through like gritted teeth. And I'm like, yeah, like we could do that, or we could just like go in the green room and drink like free alcohol, like there's free alcohol there. And he's like, okay, let's do that. And so we like go back in the green room, and we walk in, and Michael takes these like bottles of water, and he just starts like throwing them around everywhere in the green room, like splashing water everywhere. And I'm like, Michael, that doesn't accomplish anything, like the venue doesn't suffer from that, Alex doesn't suffer from that. And he's like, yeah, you're right. He's like, well, I saw him like in here earlier, it looked like he was taking out the trash. I'm like, then like pee in the trash can, like make him take out like a trash can full of your pee. And he goes, okay. And he's like, don't look. And so I'm just like, I'm not looking, I'm just like standing in the corner, like looking at the wall. And while Michael's peeing in the trash can, Frontalot comes walking in, and he's like, oh my God. And Michael's like, David peed in the trash can first. And I'm like, I'm back here looking at the wall, man. Like I don't know. so that was a really fun story. Man, HushCon's really good.
Boy, oh boy. I need to go to Hush.
Yeah, HushCon's always a blast. The first year that they had a show, I was day drinking with my now ex-girlfriend, and we were both like toast by the time the show came up. And I had to like assign one of my friends. Shouts out to Connection or Lewis, or I forget what he's going by now. But anyways, had to assign
Queso
Lewis.
Dip.
That's right, Queso Dip. That's his DJ handle. Yeah. And
No, it's
Black Sun Research Labs. But anyways, had to assign Lewis to watch after my now ex-girlfriend during the show. And then while I was rapping another Prodigy song, Invaders Must Die. And there was this part where like it's got like some kind of fast raps, but I started to like kind of lean back while I was like rapping, and I like almost blacked out. Like I felt myself like losing consciousness and like falling backwards, and I had to like like fight to like open my eyes and like not fall down and stop breathing or something. And so it was it was impressive. And that was like the first like HushCon show. It had like BC and Super Commuter. It's the only time I've ever seen Super Commuter. So it was good.
Good shit.
Heart Pence. Andy Heart
Yeah.
Pence.
Yeah, Andy Heart Pence.
Yeah. Optimus Prime. That's funny.
Yep.
What do you think? Do you guys have been to a lot of con parties and Vegas parties, vendor parties? What would you think would be the most baller party that you've attended? Which mob puts on the
DEF CON by
best
like
party?
by a large margin. And I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
like,
more specific, what party at DEF CON is what I'm getting at.
shit, dude, any of them. Like the energy is just way different there. I think like at DEF CON just in general. But
Like
I mean,
DEF CON official.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of some of the consultancies and security companies and stuff. They're sponsored parties. Over the years.
Fucking.
You guys have been to a lot more of them than me, so you must have some stories.
What was that one that we did where I told the DJ about how I peed in the DJ booth at the mezzanine? Or you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was Rapid 7.
Rapid 7. Yeah, it was
yeah, and I think he.
Rapid 7 shit I played, and like I was telling the fucking DJ, I was like, yo, because I was talking about like pissing in the DJ booth. I have this thing about peeing. I'll have to go into it some other time. But anyway, like he just gave me this like fucking the crustiest look, like you were a retard, and I was like, all right, well, I guess we're not friends anymore.
Well, didn't he like that was like Rapid 7's DJ that they had on retainer, right? So I think like he had like played that show with you where you would pee in the DJ booth. Is why I think he was upset.
Wow. He was the DJ.
Yeah.
So speaking of like producers and stuff, Dual Core is obviously a duo. 80 being the rapper, like so we never hear from 64 ever. And there's a few songs I guess you've done about 64. But was he just quiet? Like he doesn't like to come out to shows too much, or like,
he actually came out to the LA show that we were at. I got to see him. He came to DEF CON. What was that? 2013.
2012, I think, in 2011.
Yeah. So I mean, he pops his head out, but like I think he kind of digs being in the,
just the silent achiever.
Not the mustache. Yeah. He's like the Dan the Automator. Real fucking smart dude though. Super in the music too. Dave, you know him better than I do. I mean, obviously.
That's pretty much it. I mean, he's like, he's not generally somebody that wants to be outgoing and stuff. He's kind of shy, and he likes to just kind of sit in the studio and make beats and mix and everything. But like he does like to party as well. So the first year at DEF CON, I ran him ragged, which like I do every year. But he flew in with his at the time his girlfriend, but now his wife. And he was like, oh man, like I'm so tired. And I was like, oh, we got to go play shows. Just drink this vodka Red Bull, let's go. And then we like go play shows all night. And then it's like, now it's time to like sell CDs. And so that like the vendor area's open and we're just like hanging out selling CDs and stuff. And he's like, oh my god, like I'm so tired now, like I haven't even been to sleep. And I'm like, oh, it's fine, like we got to go sound check. Just drink this vodka Red Bull, let's go. And he was like, he did that, and he was like, I think I'm going to quit Dual Core because like I can't keep up with this. But then after Vegas, he and his at the time girlfriend, they took a trip down California, and he proposed to her. They got engaged, and she said yes. And I think if she said no, he probably would have quit Dual Core and hated me for life. But that was like the saving grace. And then he did email me at like after Vegas and say that he really enjoyed all the parties and everything. So he came back for the following year, but then he hasn't been back since then. I do play a show with him every year in England now. There's a conference in Sheffield called SteelCon, and we play there. It's in it's June or July, I think, but we play there, and it's been like super fun. So, and we'll be back for 2019 as well.
I mean, it's a big commute from the UK. I mean, from Australia, like I want to kill myself by the time I land in LA.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is like because he and I don't play shows very often, we don't have like a tight set together. And this like dream that I've always had is to have this like really cohesive set with like me and a DJ where, you know, like the DJ is saying like parts of my raps and like, you know, the playback is, you know, like razor sharp on like where it drops out and the effects that happen and stuff. But living on the other side or me living on the other side of the planet, whichever, us living half a world away from each other, and like the infrequency of him playing shows with me doesn't allow us or doesn't really facilitate us taking the effort to like put this like super amazing set together that I've always dreamed of. And so as a result, his like responsibilities then are just like delegated to controlling volume and controlling playback while on stage. Right. And, you know, because that's like normally my responsibility just by way of the laptop. And so I would love for like one day for us to like have this like crazy set that I have in mind, because I think people that have seen me play by myself and been like, wow, that's an amazing show, they would, you know, like lose their minds watching this this vision I have in my head.
But until then, Fuzzy Knob fills the role.
Yeah, so until then, Fuzzy Knob will tear his shirt off alongside me and stomp on stages. We've definitely, I think there's been at least 3 shows where we have messed up the sound playback from stomping on stage. And the one I always remember is the EFF 25th anniversary, and it was hosted by Will Wheaton and Cory Doctorow. And I think we were like the headliners, and it was in Last Rites, and there's these like 2 like drum kicks right before the third verse comes in, and so we like jump up and down and stomp on the stage twice in a row to the cadence of the drum kicks, and all the sound goes out except for the vocals. And so like I stop and I turn around and I look back at Fuzzy Knob, and he's like slamming his controller into the desk or into the table, and like, you know, unplugging everything and replugging it, and like nothing's working. And so I just did the third verse a cappella. But I wish I would have remembered at the time, or like noted, that the third verse starts out, step to the mic, everything is a hush. And I'm like, so perfect. but I didn't. I just like rapped it, you know, like robot memory recall. So but yeah, it's always amazing playing with Fuzzy Knob, and I look forward to playing with him again this Saturday at HushCon.
Oh yeah. Whitey, you had a new DJ this year. Also.
Yeah. I had Isabella do it. But I just teed it up, man. Like she, you know, I don't know if she really likes being on stage either. Her and Chris C64 have a little bit in common there. Just sort of lay in the cut and do the damn thing. But I don't know. Like Fuzzy Knob, I think he's great for you. Like you guys have really good energy on stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And he's backed me up too. He's done backline for me fucking million times as well. So I mean, like, shout out to Fuzzy Knob for always being clutch there.
For sure. And last year he came down to play at in Sao Paulo with me at RoadSec, and he had like his own DJ set, and I ran hype for him in his DJ set, and that was super fun too, you know. So like just being on the mic, like kicking a couple rap lines or doing like hype stuff or saying the like 3 bad words in Portuguese that I know out of 3 Portuguese words that I know, and getting the crowd all hyped up.
Oh man, I was totally gonna ask a question, and I have
a question. Hopefully my mic is unfucked, so I'm
not
being like Mr. Robot. So YD, unfortunately, I originally thought, as soon as reading Snow Crash, I thought your persona, as far as what your stage name is, was actually based off YT from the character.
No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Well, you told me it wasn't though.
No, it is. It's like that's a.
Well, which is it?
Yours truly is a courier, like, and that's a thing. It's one of those like shibboleth sort of things that like people in the scene who like know Snow Crash. That's Niels is based off of introducing Niels.
Yeah,
like that's or Neil Stevenson.
Shout outs to Snow Crash from FNet.
Listen to Niels again, because I read the book Snow Crash after listening to Niels. So, but my question is, what's your favorite book, literature or non-literature, or non-fiction or non-fiction?
Favorite book.
Hacking Exposed.
Yeah, Hacking for Dummies.
Something by Kevin
by CSSID.
Ghost in the Wires.
Yeah, Ghost in the Wire.
I'm like,
doesn't have to be Doesn't necessarily even need to be like cyber or anything like that. It could just be a cool book.
I mean, I was into like a lot of the like Neuromancer was huge, and like the guy's name being Case was fucking sick. I think they're gonna make a movie out of Neuromancer here soon. They've been kicking around for a while, and I hope they don't fuck it up. But yeah, the dictionary has always been a dope book. I'm into that. The English one.
Shout out.
What up,
Shout outs
Collins?
to Webster.
Big ups words.
The sources are pretty good too.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's a good book.
Overrated. One
So,
star on
Andy,
Amazon.
Can't follow the plot.
80, can you talk about the meat pistol incident?
Yeah. Yeah.
Moist pedal now, isn't it?
Yeah, so there is like an effort that was dubbed Moist Pedal, which I think it started about a year ago, and I don't think there's really been many commits into it. But yeah, Meat Pistol was an implant framework that was written in Go, and it would let you cut binaries for implants. It was modular, so you could say I needed, like this functionality for this implant. And it would also stand up your C2 infrastructure for you. And it was presented at DEF CON, not this year, but last year, after being approved internally for presentation. And then the two presenters were fired after giving the presentation, and like immediately after in front of everyone. And let's see, it's an anagram for Metasploit. It is like using Metasploit, like it's almost like you run MPF console instead of MSF console. It's like the exact same like look and feel, tab completion, all the goodness. The approach that was originally in mind was to follow the Metasploit path. So, like open source the core of the framework, allow people to, fork and have their own repos with their own modules and whatever. We had Intel and Google red teams committing code into it already. And yeah, it was super rad. I used it in red team ops, and it worked really well. And it is a bummer that it will probably never see the light of day.
The fucking conspiracy theory behind that shit was, because I was in the third party, like watching it unfold, but like basically Fuzzy like was one click decommissioned before he got off stage for the talk. It was like that I don't know, it seemed like they were moving the chess pieces even before this shit happened. So there's a power struggle at the highest levels of the company that they work for.
They lost a lot of respect.
Yeah, the clout went way down on that shit.
Yeah, clout to zero basically instantly. Hacker clout zero.
Rip. Clout gone. Hey guys, it's getting kind of late now. We should probably sign off, and we can keep the chat going after. But
come on, Dad.
Yeah.
Come on, just one more hour.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't even have school tomorrow.
Come on, man.
You can't pause a multiplayer online game.
But yeah, thanks guys so much for coming on and just sharing stories. There's a lot of people in here that don't get to talk to you like this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And if you see me, I'll speak for myself. If you see me at any conference or show, by all means, please come up and say hi. I love to talk shop. Want to talk about O-Days or breaches or rat music, whichever. I like it all. So I'm always happy to hang out.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come and join our ever-growing chat list of people as well. So yeah, we do it every week, every Tuesday. And everybody who's listening, thank you guys for coming out too. We have a lot of new listeners, people who've joined recently. So we do these chats every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. America, New York in your time zone file. And we have guests and topics and things. ThugCrowd.com has our full schedule. Next week we have T-Profit for a part 2 of Freaking. So if you guys remember from last week, I think it was it? Where we kind of failed at blue boxing over Discord through a phone to another phone. So just a lot of a big mess, but he's gonna come in and show us how it's actually done. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that one. It's gonna be awesome. And then the week after that, we're gonna have the ThugCrowd holiday guide. We'll do a countdown of our favorite stupid IoT and other sketchy data services that are potentially going to be gifts given to you. So stick around for that. So thanks everybody for coming out. If anybody has any last words before we go.
Smoke weed every day, motherfucker.
Smoke weed every second day.
Drink all the booze.
Buy these guys music.
outer space.
Just going. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. We'll see you. Also, shut the fuck up and get a lawyer. And keep an eye on Twitter.